Today we're going to talk about planting potatoes. Now, I recently saw a video. A gentleman was planting potatoes in boxes. It seems like there's always another way to grow a potato. The most successful way I've grown potatoes is in an old-fashioned row garden. It generally produces quite heavily. It's easy to maintain, but not everybody has a space to have a row garden. So I have tried to do it in plastic containers here at my house. I've never had much success. All those videos where they get tons and tons of potatoes out of a plastic bucket hasn't worked for me. I did see a video recently where a gentleman planted potatoes in a box, a cardboard box. So if you're into reusing and repurposing the things that you get, it might be wise to use a box. Now his suggestion was that the box be at least 12 inches deep, and that makes sense to me. The potato needs a good bit of room to have the tubers grow. Now, the one thing that he did that was funny to me is that he used the whole potato. He just put a whole potato, and then a couple inches later he put another one and another one. Now this potato, it's actually from my kitchen, and it's not technically a seed potato. This is an example of a seed potato that I just purchased from Blaine's, actually it doesn't matter, family home, something like that. But what you see is this has a bunch of things growing out of it. Those are actually little plants that are trying to start. So when a person plants this whole potato in one spot, you're going to either get one plant out of this or you're going to get a big bushy thing. Not the most efficient way to use your potatoes. So if I want to cut this potato so that I get multiple starts, I'm going to look for every place that there's actually a start, or they call these eyes. And so these are pretty big. I'm going to just cut off a chunk of this potato, and that's enough to go ahead and get a plant started. It's going to take some energy from the tuber that is there, and then I'm going to go ahead and just keep cutting sections off of this potato. There's a second section. I've got a little eye here and a big eye there. I don't know if I want to do that. I'm going to go ahead and just make one plant out of that. And then on this really big portion, all I have left is a really small eye that is right here. I don't know if you can see that. We'll try it. So out of one potato, I have 4. I did cut one before I started filming, and I got 6 out of that one. The seed potato from the store, I know I've got one here, and then these will be a clump. So I'm going to have 3 out of this small potato. So in a little while, we'll go ahead and fill these boxes. I'll go ahead and plant them, show you how I've planted them. One box will have the potatoes from the store, and one box will have potatoes that I just cut from the actual grocery store that are not seed potatoes. So to clarify, we'll plant seed potatoes in one box and grocery store potatoes that I bought to eat but didn't get to in another box. In the meantime, I'm going to head over to where I have a couple of row gardens, and I'll show you how to plant the potatoes in the row garden. All right, we'll see you there. So as promised, we're at the garden space that I have that I'm able to have a row garden. This particular garden is probably 25 feet wide by 70 feet long, and I have one more growing space about that size. Now, first of all, I want to say that I know that it's a privilege to have this amount of space to be able to grow in. And I know that not everybody has this kind of space. Still, I think that what I can show you here, you can apply at home, and hopefully it's helpful and maybe a little entertaining. What you can see here is that I've dug 6-inch deep holes, 12 inches apart. I've cut each of the potatoes so that it has its individual eye, and I'm going to throw those into the hole, and I'm going to cover them up. I did put a very small handful, probably maybe a tablespoon of organic fertilizer into the hole. You do not want to do that with traditional fertilizer. That would burn your plant, but you can get away with it with organic. And so right now I have, I'm just using Job's Organic. It seems like most of the organics are about the same NPK ratio. I planted 4 pounds of red Norlands potatoes, and I have also got Kennebec. These are two very popular potatoes in this region. They have been since I was a kid. I'm probably not going to plant all the Kennebecs because I'm already at my 3rd row with my red potatoes, and I was planning only on 4 rows of potatoes. I will probably hold off and plant some a little bit later. I'm at the beginning of the time window for growing potatoes in zone 5-6, and I think I have until mid-June to plant, so that'll give me a chance to plant even my tomatoes, actually pretty much everything. And if I have room, I'll go ahead and plant the rest of these potatoes. So that's really how a row garden works. You can see that I stake out the rows using basically a stick with a string on it. And I spread that across the garden. And I have 2 yardsticks, one at each end. These rows are 36 inches wide. Technically, they only need to be 30 inches wide. I have a rototiller, and so I like to make the rows wide enough where it can actually get the rototiller through. If you don't have a rototiller and you're just hoeing by hand, certainly 30 inches wide is wide enough for the potatoes. All right, I want to talk about the potato boxes. And what I have beside me are 2 boxes. One of the boxes is larger, and it contains 5 potato starts. They're from my kitchen. They are not technically seed potatoes, but we're going to see how they grow. And then in the other box, I have 2 starts that are actually from the seed potatoes that I got at the Tractor Supply store. I filled the boxes first with about 3 to 4 inches of soil, and I'm going to show you the way that they're placed with the eye up and the rest of the tuber facing down before I actually put 4 more inches of soil on top of them. After that, I'm going to put some fencing over the top just so the sandhill cranes that live here don't peck at them. They just want the bugs that are in the soil, but they can do a lot of damage to my plants. So we're going to protect those. And I also wanted to talk about something I don't do that a lot of people do, and that is they will harden or cure their potatoes before they actually plant them. What that means is they cut the seed potatoes into sections and then they let them dry for a day or 2 before they plant. They do that because they feel that it keeps pests from getting to them. It keeps them from just spoiling. I have never had a problem planting without doing that, so I skip that step. But by all means, if it makes you more comfortable, you should, by all means, do that. All right, you can see that those eyes are to the top, and the rest of the tuber is at the bottom. And this is my big box. And then I've got another box with just 2. These are the actual seed potatoes. So we'll just check on these in a couple weeks and see if anything's sprouting, and we'll talk about them then.